thank you for meeting with me today. Okay. Before we get started, I want to clarify you the process, our new supervision process. In the past, the way we evaluated teacher performance was the principal would come in and observe the lesson. She would take that observation, go back to her office, write some sort of formalized report, and then come back and meet with the teacher to share with him or her commendations or recommendations. Where we're doing it a little different now, we're moving into a collegial supervision process, and I'm going to explain to you briefly the goals, the roles, and the processes of this new supervision. The goals of this process is that the teacher has the opportunity to reflect on his or her teaching practice. We hope that we provide opportunities for you to grow professionally. My role is to serve as the facilitator. I will collect data for you. I will support you with professional development as you go through this process. But your role is that you're going to be an active participant. So you're going to work with me to tell me where you feel you need to grow, and we'll work together to develop a plan for your professional development. Okay?
All right.
Is that clear?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I see that you'll be teaching a lesson on simple machines,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to ask you to share some information about that. I'll start by asking you to explain your objectives of this lesson.
All right. With simple machines, the lessons or the unit's not very long, so it's very quick and to the point. There are 6 different simple machines, and we want the students to be able to identify them when they see them, to be able to give examples, and then to say what their purpose is. So why do they use them? For this particular lesson, the students they have to be able to identify which simple machine they're going to be working with, and then what's the purpose of that simple machine.
Awesome. So what strategies will you use to teach this lesson?
What we're going to do, since there's 6 different simple machines, we're going to have 6 different centers set up. I'm going to divide the class into groups, into 3 different groups. They're not going to be grouped. They're just going to be grouped like heterogeneously. So it's going to be highs can be with lows. It's not going to be highs and lows and lows. And middle. It's going to be highs with lows. They're going to be combined all sorts of different ways. And the students are going to be experimenting and investigating. So they're going to look at this particular simple machine. So say if it's like they're working with a pulley, they need to identify that, hey, this is a pulley, and then they need to identify how is it going to work. So for an example, with the pulley center, they're going to have to be able to use the pulley to be able to lift an object up. So I'm going to give them the different materials or the different machines that they need, and they need to identify, this center is with the pulleys, and this is this is the purpose and this is the purpose of the pulley.
Okay.
Another one's like a lever, so they're going to be given like a board, and they're going to have to show how the lever is used to help pull objects up and down, or how a lever can be used to push an object away.
Okay. So after your students have gone through this process and you taught the lesson, are you going to assess students' learning? How do you know the objectives will be achieved? How will you know?
It's going to be formal and informal. Informal, I'm going to be walking around, observing the students, helping them out, asking them questions. I've done it a couple of different ways, but the other parts are going to complete like a graphic organizer. And it's very, again, with simple machines, I like to keep it short and sweet and to the point. They're going to draw a picture of the simple machine, and then they're going to explain that function of how that simple machine. So that's the first part. And we're going to do this at the very end. So they're going to go through all the centers first, and then at the end, they're going to explain the function of it, and they're going to draw a picture of it. And then after that, the more, because it's very important for the students, whenever they're working with something like simple machines, a lever, it's just going to be very vague, and you try and make it concrete to them as possible, which is why I like to have them, that's why I get out levers and rams and pulleys and screws and wheel and axles, and they're working with all these different things, because they really when they get their hands on it, they're going to remember it more. So the second part is I'm going to have them work in pairs with each other, and they're going to, I'm going to give them different examples of simple machines. For an example, there's ramps, flagpoles, hammers, crowbars, ladders, and they're going to have to say which simple machine it is. So I have them work in pairs during this, and this is something actually Michelle Ballin, whenever we had that, can't remember what it's called, the Kagan strategies.
Yes.
Where they called it like that hog log one. So what I have to do is the students say switch. Like for an example, if you and I were working together, you would answer one, then I would answer one, then you, and we would switch off every other turn. Like I'd like fallen in love with the Kagan strategies. So that way, not one student's doing all the work, and we just have that copier. They're both taking their turns and, you know, supporting each other. And if one doesn't know it, again, I kind of use that reading strategy where you like to do a tip, coach praise. So give them some help before you go ahead and jump into the answer. And that's something I preach. Like we do it like the very first week of school. We're already talking about, you know, tip, coach praise and working in that partner. So the students are familiar with it throughout the year. And then so they're going to work on that, and then so that's more of a formal assessment for them. And then finally at the very end we do have a simple machines test, and especially like in this day and age where we have those SOL enhanced items, the students are, you know, they would be like a drag and drop on the computer where they would have to write, they're sorting like simple versus compound machines and just identifying them. So there's tests and our 2 formal assessments.
All right. Well, I look forward to coming in and observing your lesson. Like I said, I will be serving as a facilitator. So tomorrow when I come in to observe your lesson, I'm going to collect some data for you. I'll collect the data. As soon as I leave out, I'll email it back to you so that you can see what I observed. And then you'll take some time to reflect on the data. Then we'll come back and meet. So I wanted right now just to look at some of the data collection forms that I have available. Selected 3 that I think you might be interested in. There's a student engagement data collection form where I would go in, I would break your lesson down into activities, and we'll just code the student's engagement. There's a key down here, like they're listening, watching, they're writing, what the students are doing, or if there are any off-task behavior. So I can record that information for you. The teacher verbal interactions. Sometimes in the classroom, teachers really may come into the classroom and just kind of focus on a few students and not all the students. I don't think that this one is the most appropriate for you because I've come into your classroom previously and I know that you kind of get around to all students, and because you do the cooperative learning strategies that you're able to move around the classroom. But there's another one that might be of interest to you. This is the cognitive levels. Just to see if your the questions that you're using in class are matching the cognitive levels of the SOLs. So if you could select one of those, I could use the data tool to come in and get some data. And tomorrow, as soon as I leave out, just a few minutes, if I can get it coded in, I'll have it emailed back to you so you can do some reflection. Did you have one that's your preference?
The student engagement one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much. I will be in tomorrow. What time is that again?
It's at 10:30.
10:30. I'll come in at 10:30.
So we'll review for like 15 minutes, probably about 10 or 12 minutes, and then we'll jump right into it.
Okay. So I look forward to coming and see your lesson.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.